Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's a bright and sunshiny day. Hey, sorry I'm late. So, it happens sometimes. I looked at the clock was 6, and I rolled it back over. I'm like, oh no. I must have fell back to sleep. And the way I sleep sometimes, I put pressure on my left eye, and the dog needed to go to the bathroom like around 1. And I had to tell her, wait a minute, I can't see. Yeah, I literally could not see. So I went, you're gonna have to hold on a second. So I closed it. And I rubbed it a little bit. I wait a minute. I opened it. Oh, I can see it. Yay. First time it happened, my mom says, just give it a minute. Don't worry, you're not going blind. It happened to me sometimes. It's scary, but then it comes back on. Then I went, yay, I can see, I can see. Had a ham and cheese omelet last night for supper because I did not know what to have. Sometimes I don't know what to have, and other times I do know what to have. So I go in there and I just have it, like the chicken and rice. I had that for lunch, and that was way too much rice I ate, but I ate it all. I'm like, oh. And I said, I think that's why my eyesight was a little woozy, because too much carbs. Too much carbs. Never eat too. I should cut the chicken in half and cut the only take a top, little, just enough for rice. And I always overeat. Why? Those chicken pieces are big. Please, my brother can eat 2 of those. He has a big appetite. Why is he so skinny? Because he moves around. That's why. If I had a job and stuff and I was able to do it, I probably could do it. Um, just my back starts hurting. It's horrible. Because I heard it at work, but I didn't want to tell nobody. If I told someone, they would say, "Oh, stop whining." Well, I did tell someone. They said, "So." I mean, what's so? They said, "Well, we can't do nothing about it. You never went to doctors." I mean, how can I have no medical? Because you give me just slightly under the amount that it requires for medical. A couple hours short. I'm like, seriously? One year, Yep, she saved me 1 year. She got me the medical 1 year. She got me right in. Yep, she called it in right in front of me. I'm like, yep, that was awesome that she did that. All right, let's get started. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgiven them that trespass against us, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you, Jehovah, for another beautiful day. on your beautiful earth, and thank you for allowing us to wake up today. I really appreciate everything you have done for all of us. Just thank you, and I appreciate it. Um, um, I like to say, rest in peace, Shannon Doherty. She lost her battle. Yeah, Shannon Doherty lost the battle. And just to let you know, that's not how you spell her name. I will correct that. It's E-N, not O-N. Nobody realizes that. I wonder if that's how you spell that Shannon's name. But anyway, yeah, rest in peace, Shannon Doherty. You were a great actress. Very nice. I just love you, and I will miss you. And I did cry when I was told, and that's a natural thing. Some people don't cry, not even at the relatives. They don't believe in it when they're at home, private. Then they let it all out. That's fine. That's what they're comfortable doing. But I believe if you need to cry, just cry and let it out. Find someone that you can trust, that you're comfortable with, and put your head on their shoulder and just cry it out. I seen a grown man do that. This guy and said thank you for coming, and just broke down because it was his wife's funeral. It was I stayed outside, but my mom said let me go pay my respects. But I stayed outside. The guy that says write down your name. So she's gonna sit down over there, and I witnessed him crying. I'm like, oh, and I cried. My mom says, what's wrong? Says, the guy was crying on some guy's shoulder. So not nice to see. Okay. I was not comfortable with the fact that I was too little. All right, take Cindy Lee, Lisa, King Charles, Princess Kate, Jen's friend Shannon, and Isabella Strahan. Please continue to help them, give them physical and mental strength to fight their diseases. Maybe Shannon didn't have that too much strength, but I wish she did, and I wish she survived. But it's out of our hands. It's in Jehovah's hands. And continue to help Celine Dion with her stiff person syndrome, and continue to help Jenny, Christina, Tiffany, Robin, Miss Diane, and daughters with the mental and physical mental health. Please help them in everything that they need, and Tiffany's sons. Arnie, Vicky, and family, and Carol and her mom, please help them in anything they need. And the people that's watching this in replay or live, please help them as well. And in Jesus' name, amen. Now, I'm going to read this. So this is story number 71, God Promises a Paradise. Well, I decided today I would read as much as I can. The next story, the passages are like a whole chapter long, so we'll just listen to those. God Promises a Paradise. This is a picture of a paradise such as God may have shown in his prophet. I'm sorry, to his prophet Isaiah. Isaiah lived shortly after Jonah did. So there's the picture. Paradise means garden or park. Ooh. Does it remind you of something we have already seen in this book? It looks much like the beautiful garden that Jehovah God made for Adam and Eve, doesn't it? But will the whole earth ever be a paradise? Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Jehovah told his prophet Isaiah to write about the coming new paradise for God's people. He said, wolves and sheep will live together in peace. Young calves and baby lions will feed together, and little children will take care of them. Even a baby will not be harmed if it plays near a poisonous snake. This can never happen, many will say. Well, they'll never see it when it happens. There'll have always been trouble on earth, and there always will be. But think about it. What kind of home did God give Adam and Eve? Yeah. God put Adam and Eve in the paradise. It is only because they did disobey God that they lost their beautiful home, grew old, and died. God promises this that He will give people who love Him the very things that Adam and Eve lost. In the coming new paradise, nothing will hurt or destroy. There will be perfect peace. All people will be healthy and happy. It will be just as God wanted it to be at the beginning. But he will learn later how God, I'm sorry, but we will learn later how God will bring this about. Yes. Okay, we'll read Isaiah chapter 11 of 6 through 9. The wolf will reside for a while with the lamb, and with the young goat the leopard will lie down, and the calf and the lion and the fattened animal will all be together, and a little boy will lead them. The cow and the bear will feed together, and the young will lie down together. The lion will eat straw like the bull. The nursing child will play over the lair of a cobra, and a weaned child will put his hands over the den of a poisonous snake. They will not cause any harm or any ruin in all my holy mountain, because the earth will certainly be filled with the knowledge of Jehovah as the waters cover the sea. Now, Revelation chapter 21, verses 3 and 4. With that I heard a loud voice from the throne say, look, the tent of God is with mankind, and he will reside with them, and they will be his people, and God himself will be with them, and he will wipe out every tear from their eyes, and death will be no more. Neither will mourning, nor outcry, nor pain be any more. The former things have passed away. At Kingdom Hall, at the meeting, I don't go yet, but I watch on Zoom. It was about the Judgment Day, when that day comes. And then not everybody will be resurrected. I should have asked this question, but I messaged. I wish I could bring up the message, but I'm using the phone. Um, does it matter that my parents were both cremated? Will they be resurrected? And she says that all bodies are broken down to dust, right? And he can bring that back together again. I'm like, the way she said it, it was so cool. I wish I could bring it up and read it to you, but it's on my phone. You know what I mean? I can't go from this live and let it still be live and me read what she said to me. God helps King Hezekiah. I'll read as much as I can. How's that? Story number 72. Do you know why this man is praying to Jehovah? Why has he laid these letters in front of Jehovah's altar? The man is Hezekiah. He is king of the southern two tribes of Israel. And he is in a lot of trouble. Why? Oh, no. Because the Syrian, his Syrian armies have already destroyed. Syrians. Because the Syrian army have already destroyed the northern 10 tribes. Jehovah let this happen because those people were so sad. And now the Assyrians army have come to fight against the two tribes' kingdom. Say Assyrian. And Surrey answers every time. See?
I didn't get that. Could you?
The king of Assyria has just sent letters to King Hezekiah. These are the letters that Hezekiah has put here before God. The letters make fun of Jehovah. Oh, and tell Hezekiah to give up. So this is why Hezekiah prays, O Jehovah, save us from the king of Assyria. Then all the nations will know that you alone are God. Will Jehovah listen to Hezekiah? Oh, there's more. Hezekiah is a good king. He is not like the bad kings of the 10 tribes kingdoms of Israel, or like his bad father King Ahaz. Hezekiah has been careful to obey all of Jehovah's laws. So, after Hezekiah finishes praying, the prophet Isaiah sends him this message from Jehovah. The king of Assyria will not come into Jerusalem. None of his soldiers will ever come close to it. They will not shoot a single arrow at the city. Let's get a drink. I use the almond milk in my coffee. Look, it's okay if you add extra sugar. Look at the picture on this page. Do you know who all these dead soldiers are? They are the Assyrian Jehovah. Oh, hold on. Let me start over because I was not ready to read that. Look at this picture on this page. Do you know who all these dead soldiers are? They are the Assyrians. Jehovah sent his angel, and in one night the angel killed 185,000 Assyrian soldiers. So the king of Assyria gives up and goes back home. Wow. The two-tribe kingdom is saved, and the people have peace for a while. But after Hezekiah dies, his son Manasseh becomes king. Manasseh and his son Amon after him are both very bad kings. Oh boy. So again, the land is filled with crime and violence. When King Amon is murdered by his own servants, his son Josiah is made king of the two tribes' kingdom. Well, I hope he's a better king. 2 Kings, chapter 18, verses 1 through 36. We will listen to that. The next one is just as long, and the next one is, just as long as well. Let's go.
In the 3rd year of Hoshea the son of Elah, the king of Israel, Hezekiah the son of King Ahaz of Judah became king. He was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned for 29 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Abi, the daughter of Zechariah. He kept doing what was right in Jehovah's eyes, just as David his forefather had done. He was the one who removed the high places, smashed the sacred pillars, and cut down the sacred pole. He also crushed the copper serpent that Moses had made. For down to that time, the people of Israel had been making sacrificial smoke to it, and it used to be called the copper serpent idol. He trusted in Jehovah, the God of Israel. There was no one like him among all the kings of Judah after him, nor among those prior to him. He held fast to Jehovah. He did not turn away from following him. He continued to keep the commandments that Jehovah had given to Moses. And Jehovah was with him. Wherever he went, he acted wisely. He rebelled against the king of Assyria and refused to serve him. He also defeated the Philistines clear to Gaza and its territories, from watchtower to fortified city. In the 4th year of King Hezekiah, that is, the 7th year of Hoshea the son of Elah, the king of Israel, King Shalmaneser of Assyria came up against Samaria and began to lay siege to it. They captured it at the end of 3 years. In the 6th year of Hezekiah, which was the 9th year of King Hoshea of Israel, Samaria was captured. Then the king of Assyria took Israel into exile in Assyria, and settled them in Halah, and in Habor at the river Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes. This was because they had not listened to the voice of Jehovah their God, but kept violating his covenant, all that Moses the servant of Jehovah had commanded. They neither listened nor obeyed.
Mm-hmm.
In the 14th year of King Hezekiah, Sennacherib the king of Assyria came up against all the fortified cities of Judah and captured them. So King Hezekiah of Judah sent word to the king of Assyria at Lachish, I am at fault. Withdraw from against me, and I will give whatever you may impose on me. The king of Assyria imposed on King Hezekiah of Judah a fine of 300 silver talents and 30 gold talents. So Hezekiah gave all the silver that could be found at the house of Jehovah and in the treasuries of the king's house. At that time Hezekiah removed the doors of the temple of Jehovah and the doorposts that King Hezekiah of Judah himself had overlaid, and he gave them to the king of Assyria. The king of Assyria then sent the Tartan, the Rabsaris, and the Rabshakeh with a vast army from Lachish to King Hezekiah in Jerusalem. They went up to Jerusalem and took up a position by the conduit of the upper pool, which is at the highway of the laundryman's field. When they called for the king to come out, Eliakim son of Hilkiah, who was in charge of the household, Shebna the secretary, and Joah son of Asaph the recorder came out to them. So the Rabshakeh said to them,
Please, say to Hezekiah, this is what the great king, the king of Assyria, says. What is the basis for your confidence? You are saying, I have a strategy and the power to wage war. But these are empty words. In whom have you put your trust so that you dare to rebel against me? Look, you trust in the support of this crushed reed Egypt, which, if a man should lean on it, would enter into his palm and pierce it. That is the way Pharaoh, king of Egypt, is to all those who trust in him. And if you should say to me, we trust in Jehovah our God, is he not the one whose high places and altars Hezekiah has removed? While he says to Judah and Jerusalem, you should bow down before this altar in Jerusalem. So now, make this wager, please, with my lord the king of Assyria. I will give you 2,000 horses if you are able to find enough riders for them. How then could you drive back even one governor who is the least of my lord's servants, while you put your trust in Egypt for chariots and for horsemen? Now is it without authorization from Jehovah that I have come up against this place to destroy it? Jehovah himself said to me, go up against this land and destroy it.
At this, Eliakim son of Hilkiah and Shebna and Joah said to the Rabshakeh, Speak to your servants, please, in the Aramaic language, for we can understand it. Do not speak to us in the language of the Jews, in the hearing of the people on the wall. But the Rabshakeh said to them,
Is it just to your lord and to you that my lord sent me to speak these words? Is it not also to the men who sit on the wall, those who will eat their own excrement and drink their own urine along with you?
Then the Rabshakeh stood and called out loudly in the language of the Jews, saying,
Hear the word of the great king, the king of Assyria. This is what the king says. Do not let Hezekiah deceive you, for he is not able to rescue you out of my hand. And do not let Hezekiah cause you to trust in Jehovah by saying, Jehovah will surely rescue us, and this city will not be given into the hand of the king of Assyria. Do not listen to Hezekiah, for this is what the king of Assyria says. Make peace with me and surrender, and each of you will eat from his own vine and from his own fig tree, and will drink the water of his own cistern, until I come and take you to a land like your own land, a land of grain and new wine, a land of bread and vineyards, a land of olive trees and honey. Then you will live and not die. Do not listen to Hezekiah, for he misleads you by saying, Jehovah will rescue us. Have any of the gods of the nations rescued their land out of the hand of the king of Assyria? Where are the gods of Hamath and Arpad? Where are the gods of Sepharvaim, Hena, and Ivah? Have they rescued Samaria out of my hand? Who among all the gods of the lands have rescued their land out of my hand, so that Jehovah should rescue Jerusalem out of my hand?
But the people kept silent and did not say a word to him in reply, for the order of the king was, you must not answer him. But
Nope, it just said to 36. Next one is same book, different chapter. Chapter 19, verses 1 through 37. Does this go all the way to the end? Yep, this one's the whole thing. So just press the note. Yeah.
Chapter 19. As soon as King Hezekiah heard this, he ripped his garments apart and covered himself with sackcloth and went into the house of Jehovah. Then he sent Eliakim, who was in charge of the household, Shebna the secretary, and the elders of the priests, covered with sackcloth, to the prophet Isaiah, the son of Amoz. They said to him,
"This is what Hezekiah says. This day is a day of distress, of rebuke, and of disgrace. For the children are ready to be born, but there is no strength to give birth. Perhaps Jehovah your God will hear all the words of the Rabshakeh, whom the king of Assyria, his lord, sent to taunt the living God, and he will call him to account for the words that Jehovah your God has heard. So offer up a prayer in behalf of the remnant who have survived."
So the servants of King Hezekiah went in to Isaiah, and Isaiah said to them,
"This is what you should say to your Lord. This is what Jehovah says. Do not be afraid because of the words that you heard, the words with which the attendants of the king of Assyria blasphemed me. Here I am putting a thought in his mind, and he will hear a report and return to his own land, and I will make him fall by the sword in his own land."
After the Rabshakeh heard that the king of Assyria had pulled away from Lachish, he returned to him and found him fighting against Libnah. Now the king heard it said about King Tirhakah of Ethiopia.
"Here he has come out to fight against you."
So he sent messengers again to Hezekiah, saying,
"This is what you should say to King Hezekiah of Judah. Do not let your God in whom you trust deceive you by saying, 'Jerusalem will not be given into the hand of the king of Assyria.' Look, you have heard what the kings of Assyria did to all the lands by devoting them to destruction. Will you alone be rescued? Did the gods of the nations that my forefathers destroyed rescue them? Where are Gozan, Haran, Rezeph, and the people of Eden who are in Telassar? Where is the king of Hamath, the king of Arpad, and the king of the cities of Sepharvaim and of Hena and of Ivah?"
Hezekiah took the letters out of the hand of the messengers and read them. Hezekiah then went up to the house of Jehovah and spread them out before Jehovah. And Hezekiah began to pray before Jehovah and say, "O Jehovah, the God of Israel, sitting enthroned above the cherubs, you alone are the true God of all the kingdoms of the earth. You made the heavens and the earth. Incline your ear, O Jehovah, and hear. Open your eyes, O Jehovah, and see. Hear the words that Sennacherib has sent to taunt the living God. It is a fact, O Jehovah, that the kings of Assyria have devastated the nations and their lands, and they have thrown their gods into the fire, because they were not gods, but the work of human hands, wood and stone. That is why they could destroy them. But now, O Jehovah our God, please save us out of his hand, so that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that you alone are God. O Jehovah." Isaiah, son of Amoz, then sent this message to Hezekiah.
"This is what Jehovah, the God of Israel, says. I have heard your prayer to me concerning King Sennacherib of Assyria. This is the word that Jehovah has spoken against him. The virgin daughter of Zion despises you. She scoffs at you. The daughter of Jerusalem shakes her head at you. Whom have you taunted and blasphemed? Against whom have you raised your voice and lifted your arrogant eyes? It is against the Holy One of Israel. Through your messengers, you have taunted Jehovah and said, 'With the multitude of my war chariots, I will ascend the heights of mountains, the remotest parts of Lebanon. I will cut down its lofty cedars, its choice juniper trees, I will enter its farthest retreats, its densest forests. I will dig wells and drink foreign waters. I will dry up all the streams of Egypt with the soles of my feet. Have you not heard? From long ago it was determined. From days gone by I have prepared it. Now I will bring it about. You will turn fortified cities into desolate piles of ruins. Their inhabitants will be helpless. They will be terrified and put to shame. They will become as vegetation of the field and green grass, as grass of the roofs that is scorched by the east wind. But I well know when you sit, when you go out, when you come in, and when you are enraged against me, because your rage against me and your roaring have reached my ears. So I will put my hook in your nose and my bridle between your lips, and I will lead you back the way you came. And this will be the sign for you. This year you will eat what grows on its own, and in the second year you will eat grain that sprouts from that. But in the third year you will sow seed and reap, and you will plant vineyards and eat their fruitage. Those of the house of Judah who escape, those who are left, will take root downward and produce fruit upward. For a remnant will go out of Jerusalem, and survivors from Mount Zion. The zeal of Jehovah of armies will do this. Therefore, this is what Jehovah says about the king of Assyria. He will not come into this city, or shoot an arrow there, or confront it with a shield, or cast up a siege rampart against it. By the way he came, he will return. He will not come into this city, declares Jehovah. I will defend this city and save it for my own sake and for the sake of my servant David.
On that very night, the angel of Jehovah went out and struck down 185,000 men in the camp of the Assyrians.
Wow.
When people rose up early in the morning, they saw all the dead bodies. So King Sennacherib of Assyria departed and returned to Nineveh and stayed there. And as he was bowing down at the house of his god Nisroch, his own sons Adramelech and Sharezer struck him down with the sword, and then escaped to the land of Ararat. And his son Esarhaddon became king in his place.
Wow.
Chapter 20.
No, I said X. No offense to 20. Is that our last one? No. Our next one is 21. Chapter 21, verses 1 through 25. 1 through 25.
Chapter 21. Manasseh was 12 years old when he became king, and he reigned for 55 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Hephzibah. He did what was bad in Jehovah's eyes, following the detestable practices of the nations that Jehovah had driven out from before the people of Israel. He rebuilt the high places that his father Hezekiah had destroyed, and he set up altars to Baal and made a sacred pole, just as Ahab, the king of Israel, had done. And he bowed down to all the army of the heavens and served them. He also built altars in the house of Jehovah, about which Jehovah had said, "In Jerusalem I will put my name." And he built altars to all the army of the heavens in 2 courtyards of the house of Jehovah. And he made his own son pass through the fire. He practiced magic, looked for omens, and appointed spirit mediums and fortune tellers. He did on a grand scale what was bad in Jehovah's eyes, to offend him. He put the carved image of the sacred pole that he made into the house about which Jehovah had said to David and to his son Solomon, In this house and in Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, I will permanently put my name. And I will never again make the feet of Israel wander from the land that I gave to their forefathers, provided they carefully observe all that I have commanded them, the entire law that my servant Moses ordered them to follow. But they did not obey, and Manasseh kept leading them astray, causing them to do greater evil than the nations that Jehovah had annihilated from before the Israelites. Jehovah kept speaking through his servants the prophets, saying, Manasseh the king of Judah has done all these detestable things. He has acted more wickedly than all the Amorites before him, and he has made Judah sin with his disgusting idols. Therefore this is what Jehovah the God of Israel says. Here I am bringing such a disaster on Jerusalem and Judah that it will make both ears of anyone who hears about it tingle. And I will stretch out on Jerusalem the measuring line applied to Samaria, and use the leveling tool applied to the house of Ahab. And I will wipe Jerusalem clean, just as one wipes a bowl clean, wiping it and turning it upside down. I will forsake the remnant of my inheritance, and give them into the hand of their enemies, and they will become plunder and spoil to all their enemies, because they did what was bad in my eyes, and were continually offending me, from the day that their forefathers came out of Egypt to this day. Manasseh also shed innocent blood in very great quantity, until he had filled Jerusalem from one end to the other, besides his sin of causing Judah to sin by doing what was bad in the eyes of Jehovah. As for the rest of the history of Manasseh, and all that he did, and the sins that he committed, are they not written in the book of the history of the times of the kings of Judah? Then Manasseh was laid to rest with his forefathers, and was buried in the garden of his house, in the garden of Uzzah, and his son Amon became king in his place. Amon was 22 years old when he became king, and he reigned for 2 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Meshullemeth, the daughter of Haraz from Jokbah. He continued to do what was bad in Jehovah's eyes, just as his father Manasseh had done. He kept walking in all the ways that his father walked, and he continued serving and bowing down to the disgusting idols that his father had served. So he abandoned Jehovah the God of his forefathers, and he did not walk in the way of Jehovah. Eventually, Amon's servants conspired against him, and put the king to death in his own house. But the people of the land struck down all those who conspired against King Amon, and they made his son Josiah king in his place. As for the rest of the history of Amon, what he did, is it not written in the book of the history of the times of the kings of Judah? So they buried him in his grave in the garden of Uzzah, and his son Josiah became king in his place.
Well, we weren't supposed to read that last part, but that's okay. And that's going to be it. Carol never came for verse request. She might be busy. So, I will see you later on for Mandela Mondays. Sorry, Mandela Mondays. I say Mandela, that's Nelson Mandela. Because I used to saying mandala, and my dad thought I was drawing Nelson Mandela. I went, no, Mandela. And I showed him, he goes, oh. Then he stopped to laugh at me. I said, but I'm laughing with you. And he goes, no, I won't say what he said. I says, well, that's what everybody else said when everybody's making fun of me in school. So, I love you guys. Don't forget, Jehovah loves you. Love, don't judge. Peace out.